Hello everyone, and welcome back to another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing volume 44 in the series I have been reading, Haikyu by Haruichi Furudate. I have been loving this series. We're at the very end of this series. This is volume 44 out of 45. I have lots of thoughts. I've been loving Haruichi Furudate as a writer, so let's dive in and discuss what I thought about volume 44 and what I think about this series overall as a whole. So I am going to assume that you have familiarity with this series. You're watching a review of volume 44. If you do need a refresher, I do have reviews of all previous volumes on my channel. So volume 44, we have kind of gone through this time jump where Kageyama and Hinata, two of our key characters from the entire series, have made it to the pro leagues in Japan. They both have had different paths getting there. Out of high school, Kageyama went right to the pro leagues right after high school, while Hinata spent some time in Brazil playing beach volleyball before moving back into the pro leagues in Japan. And they are playing against each other, but on opposite teams on the first game in their team's matchup of the season. Hinata is playing on the team Black Jackals, while Kageyama is playing on the Schweidenadlers, it is a Japanese team just with a German sounding name. And they are facing each other for the first time since middle school. So this is a throwback to the matchup that Hinata and Kageyama had, their first matchup ever, which was a middle school volleyball game. Kageyama was on a much better put together team. Hinata was playing with quite literally just people he found and could convince how to play. And Hinata's drive for volleyball has always been there, and it's culminated in both of them being in the pro leagues despite taking different paths to get there. The rosters of both of these teams are packed with many people that we recognize from reading the series. So that makes sense. In the spring tournament, the farther that Karasuno High School advanced, the more you're playing up against top teams and top players from the nation. And it makes sense that many of these top players would be recruited into the pro leagues following the conclusion of high school. So it does make sense that we're seeing a lot of players here that we recognize from previous volumes. The author has spent 40 volumes really doing a good job of building characters, not only from the Karasuno High School team, but various teams that Karasuno played, and building the connections between the players on the teams and rivalries or connections with all these other players that they know. And I think all of that's coming to fruition in these final volumes, where we see a lot of players that we recognize who have come into their final form. It sounds like, I don't know, Pokemon evolution or something, but have reached the pro level and are playing at a very high level. And it's very, very rewarding to see all their work play off and see where they wound up after high school. But it doesn't just end with those players who are playing on either the Schweidenadlers or Black Jackals. There's a lot of players that know Hinata or Kageyama teams, or players from teams that had played Karasuno in high school, or even people who are no longer playing volleyball at a professional level, but were teammates with Hinata or Kageyama. They're all coming to watch these two teams play, the Black Jackals and the Schweidenadlers, because they're seeing two people who they know have played together in high school now playing each other for the first time at a professional level, and it's just going to be an interesting and exciting game. I think that the rivalry between Hinata and Kageyama, which never really went away even when they were in high school together and playing against one another, although they do have a little bit more, or probably a lot more, respect and admiration for each other at this point. And I think that matchup is very interesting. We have that going on, but also we have a culmination of the character building that the author has spent 40 plus volumes building with all these characters, and coming together and having this closeout game, because this is obviously the final matchup of the series, is interesting. And I think it's very well done, and I enjoy it. I do have to say, I don't think the stress is quite there when I watch this final volleyball game. It does seem like just an exhibition. It's an example of high-level professional volleyball just being played. We have the rivalry, but I don't really feel stressed because I know that these two players are going to have professional careers. And also, we're not in like a single elimination spring tournament like we were for 15 volumes, which was the most stressful stuff I have read. So we don't have that stress aspect in this book. It just feels like an enjoyable culmination of the series that we've been reading. And we do have a little bit of competition between Hinata and Kageyama. In this volume, the Jackals take set 1, but the Adlers take set 2, so we're going into another set. I do think that, do pro teams play to 5 sets? I'm not sure. All I know is they're equal and they have to go into a final set, so maybe they're 2-2. But it is going to be really interesting to watch this final set play out, and I think the author just bringing all these people together and showing where they've been since high school is really, really enjoyable. Seeing these people who maybe don't play volleyball, people who just play on local like municipal teams, people who play in the pro leagues in any of the divisions, it's just really interesting to have them all come together. I think overall for this series, the writing has been really high quality, and sometimes that isn't always the case with manga series. I think sometimes the plot can be lacking in some manga series, which the plot is also lacking in things that aren't manga, so it's not just a manga problem. But I found that the writing in this series was particularly really well done, and I think the author has a lot of skill and talent in that writing aspect. And I think it's really interesting to encounter something that has such great art and great writing, and just having it all come together in these final volumes has been really, really amazing and good. If it was not 45 volumes, I would probably buy the entire set, but I feel like manga can get really pricey, and I don't know if I want to spend out for 45 volumes right now. But this is a really amazing series. I'm loving the way it's coming together. We are in the conclusion phases, so there's not a lot to talk about in terms of plot or character development. All of that has kind of been completed at this point. I just am really impressed with the writing, with the quality, with this series overall, and I would love to hear what you thought about this series, what you think about the conclusion of the series. Did you agree with the direction that the author went? What do you think about it? I would love to hear it, so please put your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Otherwise, I want to just, again, give a shout out to Furudate. What an amazing book. I really enjoyed his writing. The story, the plot, the way this turned out was really, really interesting, and I look forward to giving my review of volume 45. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest